Did you experience any like new challenges with people accepting open source after the exe news broke? Like after all that happened, like did you have to explain open source again to someone who was kind of starting to build up trust that open source software, we can use it, it's okay, we can contribute back, it's all okay? Like did it kind of like destroy any of that educational work that for instance you were doing up to that point, or it didn't really make a difference in that sense?
I think it may have hurt a little bit, but I do think that once we can kind of like look at the situation, what happened, and kind of explain how it's different. And again, to Phil's point, comparing it to SolarWinds and how that it is actually very different in both scenarios, and how in some ways open source in this case was more secure than it was when it was closed source. I think that people recognize and start resonating with that, and then it becomes less of a problem. But we definitely got questions about certain things, but I think once you come up with logical answers to them, then people can understand and then become educated on it.
So it didn't cause any problems that you could not overcome once you explained the background of the situation?
Yeah, not for us and our customers. We do tend to work with a lot more of the forward leaning folks within the Department of Defense, so that also helps, obviously. Um, but yeah, at least for us, we didn't really see a ton of impact for it.
But like you said, the folks that are actually the implementers of your air gapped solutions, where Zarf is leading that way, they are probably not those forward leaning folks.
Yeah, sometimes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you have to balance it. Luckily, the way that everything kind of the chain of commands work, it usually winds up working out. And as long as you can answer the other things that they care about along the way, then they're willing to like accept it, and they'll see the value in it as well. So like one of the things that SBOMs with Zarf, they're baked into the package, and so they come with the package. And it, like an information assurance person within the Department of Defense, if they're more traditionalistic, one of the very first things they're going to ask is, "What software are you bringing into my environment?" And that's a valid question, and they'll want to do a risk assessment analysis on everything. But because Zarf it has SBOMs baked into it and very easily answers that question, they actually wind up liking it and being like, "Oh, this thing like solves this big problem that I've always fought with developers on for so long." Because there honestly has been like this, kind of developer information assurance kind of like rivalry where one side tries to get around the other side, and the other side doesn't trust the other side and stuff. And so, in some ways, Zarf can kind of come in between both of those, help the developer get their stuff in the air gap and discover what images are needed and package it all up, but also have features that help the other side understand what's being brought in and then bridge them together to go into the environment.
Sounds like DevOps versus the security guys before SecOps existed.
Yep. Yep. It is.
So would you say that like a good strategy is to try to cover like a diverse set of topics when someone is advocating for an open source project, like showing the value in multiple angles, that yes, this has happened, but this is also what this open source project is providing to you, and helping people understand the different bits and pieces and components? Is that a key to the argument, or did you find any other ways to help that kind of talking up the chain a little bit about what this whole thing is that you all are working on?
Yeah, so it is definitely, I think a lot of it is understanding the personas that are users of your application, and the environments that you're going into. We have a lot of veterans at our company, and so a lot of people like myself who have seen these arguments happen in real life, between developers and information assurance people, and know what they're looking for and have seen it. And so I think that helps us to be able to sort of see both sides, both sides problems, and then answer to both of them. And then talking to the chain of commands thing, it is important to know about like what is coming out of the White House or different policy documents. There was an executive order a little bit ago on SBOMs, which drives it across all defense contractors. And then knowing how to position your products, Zarf, which already had SBOM support at that time, underneath that and with that, and say, okay, it can not only help you with your problems here, but it also helps you with this other thing that you're going to have to be in compliance with here very shortly. And so there are things that are happening even with potentially attestations and stuff with NIST and some of the documents they're putting out. And so trying to watch some of the stuff that's happening in that compliance realm, in the policy realm, and then understanding what these users on the ground are going to want and experience as well. I think kind of bridging that is what makes it successful.
Vex lists are another things that the CISA has been starting to push. Are those tied into your SBOMs, and how do you manage vulnerabilities that are identified in the components that you're using and the backports that you've done to fix or what have you?
Yeah, right now we haven't incorporated Vex into Zarf, but it is on something that we're looking at for the roadmap. It is something that we think would be very important to be able to bring that across the air gap. One of the things we're trying to work on is allowing people to scan for vulnerabilities within their environment as well. And so we're building some. We have another open source product, which is the Unicorn Delivery Service, which is kind of how we wrap most of our open source products in like a cohesive solution for people. And so we're looking at how we can implement like scanning tools into that to bring in the SBOMs from Zarf, but also like trivia vulnerability databases, and then Vex data and other things to sort of build a full picture for these security personas.